Hello, family, and welcome to Thriving Couples by the Dindies,
the place where we keep marriage real, fun, and fulfilling.
Awesome. We're really happy to have you on board today. It's going to be an exciting one, and we'll be talking a lot to the men.
Especially from the man.
But we'll be talking about some of the key things that we as men have to think about if we're to have thriving relationships.
Yeah, so sisters, wives, just hang in there with your husband and encourage him as you listen to this.
Yeah, this will be a fun one. Let's go. Awesome. So here we go. Today we'll be talking a lot about the men. And some key things that we as men need to do so that we can have thriving relationships. Tutapata wisdom also from the ladies because kuna hizo expectations that you guys have for us. So it's going to be a fun one. So I'll take us off. There are a few things that I had written some time just to talk to men about things that I think are really important when you're thinking about growing a functional, amazing, happy marriage. The first one, this is what I wrote. Sometimes me ushanga when I read what I wrote, I'm like, hey, mazai wisdom.
Hey, wisdom. But he's a wise man. I can attest.
Anywho, so the first one, number one, as a father, you either pass wounds or wisdom to the next generation. Your child's marriage will either be a happy one or an unfulfilled one, depending on which of these two you pass on. Think about that. Are you passing on wisdom or are you wounding your next generation? And I think as I was writing this, I was thinking a lot about my own life. I've been blessed to have an amazing dad. We are really close. We've been close, for as long as I can remember.
And he's a man of wisdom. I know him.
He's an amazing guy. And it's interesting to me that a lot of the way in which I treat you, when I think back, this is how I saw him treating mom. And so we've just carried on the same legacy. So he very honorable guy, very respectful in the way he does his thing. I've never seen them arguing. I know they have disagreements about things, but they always handle them separately away from us. And so it just made me think of when I get married, this is the kind of man that I want to be. I believe he passed on wisdom to me, and I'm trying to pass the same wisdom to our son.
Yeah.
And so I think we've also counseled people where we know because of how their dads did life, they were deeply wounded. And some of the struggle that they are having is just because of the kind of home they grew up in and how they saw their dad doing marriage. And it left deep wounds in them that they're struggling to deal with even now. I remember, for example, there was one lady whose dad was so amorous that when she got married, trusting her husband was so difficult because of what she saw every day back home. So literally, the dad not only affected the mom and gave the mom a horrible marital experience, but he wounded the next generation. So that instead of wisdom, what he passed on to the next generation was pain. I don't know how his sons behaved, but we dealt with a daughter, and it was really tough to see that because of the way he did life, the next generation was impacted very negatively.
I think this points to the fact that we cannot change our history, but we can shape the future. And this starts with knowing that you might already come from a disadvantaged point as a man. Maybe you had an absent dad or a dad who was actually cost you a lot of pain, but what are you going to make of yourself? And that's why it's very good to have that awareness and try to work on things to be a better person, knowing that you're shaping your children's future. A good marriage can start with you, in as much as you didn't see that in the family you grew up with. You grew up in. And that just points out to the fact that the kids are always watching, and we say that kids, listen with their eyes open. They tend to see more of what you do than what you tell them. It doesn't matter how much fantastic advice you give them, how you treat your wife, how you run the family as the leader, or by abdication. It's actually going to have a problem in that marriage. You can shape the future of your children by how you treat your spouse. So it's good to start building a good foundation for the future generations.
Yeah. There's something you wrote recently. Let me try see if I remember the wording correctly. That you might not come from a good family,
yes,
but a good family can come out of you.
Yes.
So just to say, sometimes life gives us whatever it decides to, but then we can make a choice that moving forward, I'm going to have a different legacy for those people that are coming from me, and that's it.
And decide that bad history ends with you.
Yes.
Now you create something new. Yeah,
absolutely. I love that. So that was number one. You passing wisdom, wounds to the next generation, and think about it. Are you passing wisdom, or are you passing wounds to your next generation? But number two, this is what I wrote. The curse of our generation is passive men whose fingers are more familiar with the controls of a PlayStation than self-control, more familiar with the Premier League table than the kitchen table, more adept at hiding in the treachery of infidelity than the honor of faithfulness, unengaged fathers whose sons become zombies of pop culture.
Hard one.
Yeah. I don't know what I was drinking as I was writing that.
But it just makes me think of this, maybe this guy who comes from work and assuming that he has a stay-home wife who's been busy with the kids, is wondering what she's been doing, and he just sits and starts, scrolling through the channels. It's true, you're tired, you've been out there, but it's also good to realize your wife has been working as well, in as much as she might not have, a white-collar job like you do. But just check on the people when you get home. How have they been? You're tired, they're tired as well, but just being that sensitive to your family really creates a good emotional environment. Men want to come home to a peaceful home, but sometimes they're not creating that environment for their wives. They're not creating that environment that makes their wives and their kids feel that dad cares about us, or my husband cares about me, because you can really set the tone for the family. It's not just the wife's sole responsibility to create that conducive, homely, warm environment, peaceful and all that. It's really two-way, in as much as I would say that the lady is the queen of the home. Yeah. But I'm derailing us.
Unanipeleka pengine. Yeah, but I think that issue of passivity, when I think about it, I think all the way to even where we got to where we are as humanity, the fall of man, and in the Garden of Eden, the serpent came and was chatting Eve, and telling
Adam
Eve,
was there.
Yes, he was right there, and he did nothing. He did not say, hey, that's not what God said.
And what I discovered is that when the instructions were given to man, Adam, of not eating from the tree of life, it was to Adam. That was actually before Eve was created.
Yeah.
But Adam did not take leadership and convey this information to his wife and guide her in this particular aspect. And the enemy, being very shrewd, the serpent, was clever not to come through the man, came through the wife. And trouble came in because Adam did not step up to his position. He just watched the wife being, maybe he knew there was a price to pay for stepping up into leadership.
Very passive. And I think that curse of passivity, we see it across generations.
Very sad.
And in today's world, it plays out every day, where men are no longer intentionally involved in setting things right at home. In parenting, we see ladies involved more. If you go to a parents' day
events,
in school,
dads
you'll
are not
see
there.
ladies. You will not see the men.
And they're all working. Actually, most of them, they're both working.
it's not about being busy. That intentionality to engage, it's something that I've seen played out over and over again. And the impact of the passivity of the men is that the next generation that is coming through then lacks the guidance and the influence, the very important influence of a man in guiding the kids. Something unique about the influence of a woman in a child's life, I usually like to say that motherhood is instinctive and fatherhood is intentional.
Yeah.
You don't need
For
to
us,
teach
it's really natural.
a lady to love her children. A mother just naturally, by the time you're breastfeeding this kid, you're bonding from the get-go. Literally, bonding starts from the womb. But for a man, there has to be a lot of intentionality in getting involved, in helping this child view the world in a certain way. The nurturing instinct of the mother is very protective.
Yeah.
And sometimes it can be overprotective.
Yes.
Like I've seen even in our own kids, like my kids would be climbing on places.
Again. Anyway,
they want to take flight from heights and everything. And
mom is like, don't.
And you'd be like, don't do this, don't do this, don't do the other. But my role, and many times, I would push them
a little bit.
Try things, takes a bit of risk. That is just the way men are wired. And so I think there's a very crucial role of a man in a home and in raising the next generation. When we are passive and we don't play our role, then the kids that are coming through, there are a lot of even boys that are becoming men that are sissies. They can't take criticism. They can't handle themselves as men. They don't know what it takes to build something from scratch. They don't have the patience, the fortitude. And so all that is to say, if you're a passive man, you are raising a weak generation.
Yeah.
And the next generation, in fact, not just your children, but even your grandchildren and great-grandchildren will receive great disservice because of your lack of intentionality as a man today.
And so I would add, before we move on to the next point, that if you're a mother who finds yourself raising a son single-handedly for whatever reason that life might have dealt you, please look for father figures involved, maybe the uncles or, people you can trust even in church. Ensure that there are father figures that can actually help this son grow up to be a man, because a man can only learn to be a man, or a boy can only learn how to be a man from other men. And you want people with positive influence. You don't want people who are already struggling with their own trauma raising your son as well. So pray about it, seek guidance, but have men who are solid in their identity, helping your son to grow up into a man who is also solid in his identity.
Beautiful. I love that. Or maybe, maybe I shouldn't delve into this, but let me talk about it just briefly. One of the key roles of men, we like to say the mother and the child are facing each other. It's a relationship that is inward. They are facing each other. It is a warm, nurturing relationship. But the role of a man is to turn this child and help this child face the world. And one of the things that I think is so crucial for a man to be able to do is to look into the future and prophetically pull that future and present it in a way that a child or a growing up boy can understand and palpate. So the role of a dad is to be a prophet for his child's growth and development, so that you can look ahead and say, out of my loins has come this kind of a man. And so I usually say it's sad when a dad is wondering with the rest of the world, what should my child become? You have no clue. But if you're to truly become a father, you engage with God about this seed that has come out of you, and so that you can prophetically reveal this to the child and inspire and instill in them whatever it takes to finally lay a grasp of that future.
I think we need an episode on that, targeting the men even more.
Yeah, that's I think so.
Profound,
I think one of these days.
Yeah.
All right. Number 3, this is what I wrote. Manhood is about leadership, and leadership is about service. If you cannot serve, you have no DNA for leadership. If service is below you, leadership is beyond you. Leadership,
I loved that one, that particular statement.
Yeah. Leadership is a verb, not a noun. That's crucial. Therefore, leadership is not a title. It is what you do. I think
philosophical.
Yeah, that day,
my brilliant husband.
I don't know what you had given me.
And the love portion.
Kitu ya Wakamba. Anyway,
unaona tu umevaa yellow anyway.
I love you, baby.
I love you too.
I think for this particular thing, what I was trying to bring out, this whole aspect of leadership is grossly misunderstood, especially in the African context, where we think leadership is about
dominance
over others, making others
toxic
subjugate
patriarchy.
people and all that. But truly, leadership is about service. And when you understand leadership, actually, you become very humble because it is delegated leadership. It is God who's given us a certain role to play. In terms of value, we all have the same value, but we are given different roles. And so it's so humbling when we realize the level of responsibility that's been placed on our shoulders as men. And so when you talk about leadership, it's about serving your household. How do you help the people that are under you to be everything they could possibly be? How do you bring out their potential so that it blesses the world? That is your role as a leader. Not how can these people serve you, but how can you best serve them so that the giftings that are hidden in them can come out and answer the needs of the world. And for me, when you understand leadership from that perspective, then you are able to be a real blessing in a home.
And I'll say, like, what I've experienced, just being married to you for the last almost 19 years is that your leadership is very inspiring, very loving. You put yourself at risk sometimes even for our sake. I see you going out of your way to provide, to protect. And I would say that the most inspiring thing about you is because your leadership is from you being led of Christ, that you're also following someone. You're following God's leadership. And that's why it's very easy to follow you as well, because I know who is leading you. And this is just because, I mean, even as a wife, you should not just follow any leadership. If really, because at the end of the day, like we say, we should all be submitted to Christ. And if your husband is even leading you astray, you should not follow him or submit to him if he's not submitted to God, because our first and topmost, foremost submission should be to God. But it's easy to follow you, to follow your leadership, because it's inspiring, it's influencing. It just inspires us to do the best we can as a family, and I feel secure and loved in this case. So that kind of leadership, baby, you continue like that, we're gonna be doing very well.
I'm being marinated up live. Okay. Number 4.
I hope I didn't confuse you.
Number 4, this is what I wrote. A husband is a house band. So because it was written, it's easier to, but to explain that, husband is a house band. So I wrote house, nyumba, dash band, the thing that binds things together. And I said, we band the house together. We hold the house together. When we don't take up our responsibility as heads of our homes, then the house falls apart. Most broken homes are incubated in the womb of failed headship.
Whether by presence or abdication.
Yeah.
It's very interesting. People assume that leadership is just something that men put on themselves, but actually it's God-given. It's actually God-ordained. And I found it profound to learn that really men lead, whether they are present and active in taking up their role, or whether they've, abandoned their family, they still lead. Because for a family that the man abandoned, they still, the kids go through trauma. There's a lot of experiences that they have by just that bit of emotional neglect from the dad, that they then have to deal with the trauma from that still leads them into the rest of their lives. Like, men have this role that sometimes I don't think they always realize that is very powerful. So it's good to take up your leadership role and seek to know from whom that gave you the leadership. What is his blueprint? What does God say in his manuscript? How should you be leading? Because that role is very powerful. There's no woman who can step up to that role. They can lead, but it's never the way it was intended to be. And when they lead, because that's not how God designed us as women to be, there's always going to be a problem, even in the kids brought up in that family.
Yep. So headship is crucial. Headship is really crucial. And so what we're really talking about today, a lot of it is about men stepping up to the place that they've been given by God. And so I love what you said, because you can lead by your presence or you can lead by your absence. Yeah, but you don't get to choose. You don't get to say, I'm not the leader of
Either
this
way,
house.
you are leading.
Yes. That one you've been given by God. You can't run away from that. You cannot outsource the headship of your home to your wife. You are the leader. Step up and provide great servant leadership so that your family gets to the next level.
Oh, yes.
Sikio muhimu sana. All right. Number 5, I wrote, love is a choice, not a feeling. Love in its truest form is remaining faithful to your commitment even when she is driving you crazy. I will not say anything over there.
No, they say that if someone is driving you crazy, you've given them the keys.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I need to be denying you the keys.
Have I been driving you crazy? I think we might have to cut this episode
She does me
in
crazy.
very good ways.
Yeah. If you only love when you feel like it, you have an immature imitation of love. True love is a choice, a commitment, a decision.
Yeah. I think we keep talking about this, and we will belabor this point that really in marriage it's a commitment, it's a covenant. It's not about feelings. The thing is that, there's this excitement you'd have like when you started dating or you're newly married, you're still in the honeymoon phase, and you think it's always going to be like that. That love has to mature, and mature love is what will carry you throughout marriage. And that means that there are days that you feel like you should be mad at your spouse, but you choose to love because you choose to do what is right by them. You choose to still serve them. You choose to consider their well-being. You choose not to react and revenge in a certain way, but inspire them even to do what is right by you doing what is right. And that means that now at that point is when you remember that you're not just committed to your spouse, you're committed to God. That this is something that your marriage should be a 3-corded strand. So there's God binding you together. And when even your partner is falling short, remember you are accountable to God. And when you do what is right, God is going to take care of the other side. And that doesn't mean that you just sweep things under the carpet. You should still complain to your partner and do it in the right way and ensure that they know that something is making you unhappy or disappointed or whatever experience or emotion that you're getting. But loving them and doing things right is a choice that you have to keep making every single day that you're married.
Yeah, like that. I choose you daily. So it's not, when on the wedding day, there's always that one, forsaking all others, you choose this one. But people don't realize that you have to choose your partner every day. Every single day, you make that decision that I choose you. I'm going to remain committed to you, regardless of feelings or other dramatics. So that aspect of choice is so crucial, so that we are not leaving things to chance. I've fallen in love. Oh, now I've fallen out of love. Some people say we've fallen out of love. So, and I like what someone said, that even when you feel like you've fallen out of love, as one spouse, you can choose and say, I'm the hotspot.
I'm going to get hotspot. We will have Wi-Fi.
Around my love over here. That is the way it's going to be. Yeah. All right.
I love it.
Number 6. This I feel is so important. Number 6, faithfulness is a choice. Build habits and an environment that makes it easy for you to always choose faithfulness. I know I've seen it online many times. People just say all men are unfaithful. All men do this. All men cheat. Like
it just used to justify bad behavior.
Yeah, and people have assumed that is actually normal
and accepted things that are really not what they're valued for.
Yeah, but I want to raise my hand over here. I'm a man. I've been faithful to this lady.
Amen.
This is our 19th year. So I know for a fact
and
that not all men do this. And you can actually choose to be faithful. And again, as I mentioned here, it's a choice you make. And then you create an environment that makes it easier for you to keep your commitments. So there are places I don't go. I don't put myself in certain positions. They're just things like safeguards. I think my dad, growing up, I remember him saying to me that, remember, greater men than you have fallen. So don't have the arrogance to think that this cannot happen to you. Yeah, so it's important to put those safeguards, knowing that you are human and you're fallible. So don't place yourself in certain positions. And I believe, that's why I believe strongly, there is no innocent flirting. Don't start on that pathway, because you never know.
It's like going down a slide.
Yes, you don't want to start on that pathway. So you have to have clear boundaries. You have to hold faithfulness so dear to you. It must be something so close to you, because there's a beauty of exclusivity, even to the sexual relationship, when you know this is truly something that it's just the two of us that share this special thing.
Deeply intimate.
Yes. That says a lot. And so it's crucial to embrace faithfulness as your way of life. That is a choice that you make.
And really, it just means that, like you've said, you'll have boundaries. And what I have observed is that people respect boundaries, but they can never respect them if you've never drawn them. And it has nothing to do with you stating the boundaries to them. It's just how you conduct yourself. Guys can tell, women, men, they can tell whether you're open to flirting or not by you answering all those inboxes, how you respond to them. They'll send you cues, and how you respond to that tells them, hey, I can push my buttons further. So really, how you set your boundaries just determines how people are going to treat you in that regard.
Kabisa. Now, the last one. Yeah, and also something I feel very strongly about. I wrote this: as a man, never allow your history to imprison your destiny.
That's powerful.
As long as there is breath in your lungs, there is hope. Let me rewind that part again. As a man, never allow your history to imprison your destiny. As long as there is breath in your lungs, there is hope.
Amen.
You can be better than you were yesterday. You can start afresh. You can achieve your dreams. The past is gone. All you have is the gift of today to build a better tomorrow. You might have failed as a husband in the past, but you have a chance to be a different man. It's all up to you. And so I wanted us to end at this point.
It's a message of hope.
Yes, a message of hope, really, to know that you might have messed in the past, but you can decide to do life differently.
Yes.
And not just in terms of the marital relationship. Some of us, maybe you've come from homes where there's a lot of brokenness, or there wasn't much resource. You've struggled through life, but that does not have to define your future. You can have a different future. And when you change your mindset so that you don't allow your destiny to be a prisoner of your past, in other words, you're not looking at the future through your rear view mirror. You can truly have an amazing life.
Yeah, and you can seek, mentorship. You can have people coaching you. I've heard of programs like Money Enough. There's a lot of resource that's available if you truly want to step up the game and be a better person. But what we are saying, there is hope. Our God is a God of grace. You can repent, turn around from the ways, the habits that have not been right, and create new habits, and also create new friendships and hang out with people who are doing things, who are in the place you want to be at, the kind of people who you'd love to emulate, the ones having the habits that you really want to build. So you might have to cut some links from the past and grow new relationships.
Fantastic. So we'll just end at that point. Do not allow your future to be a prisoner of your past.
Past.
All right. See you next time. Have a blast.
See you.